coming up next on The Health Hustle.
Well, I know when I started the brand, even when I decided on the name is what took me the longest. Because for me, I wanted it to be cool, but it had to have meaning. Because I know if you start with a message at the foundation compared to like something that just looks cool, the one with the message is just going to outlast it. And we've built this like pretty cool community now because of the message. There's an Uphill community of people that just are diehard, and it's so cool. I did not expect that, but it's because we started with the message, because like everyone could resonate to that. Everyone's going through something. It doesn't matter how significant or insignificant it might seem to you, but that's what brings you together. Like we're all going through something, and the fact that our brand pushes like, you're going to be okay, keep going, keep pushing, like have a good perspective about it, and it's going to pay off later. And I think that's what like really ties people in together, and that's how we've built this community. And now it's my favorite thing out of anything. Like I did not expect to have a community of people that just like are die hard about the message. Like yes, I think we make cool clothing, but the fact that like they know the message is the most important thing to me.
What up, y'all? On this episode, I had a chance to sit down with my buddy Jason Lucero. Jason is from El Paso, Texas, graduated from Texas State, has a 165-pound Great Dane by the name of Moose, which I've met. He is a lovable critter, and his favorite book is Shoe Dog, which is fitting for this episode. Some of the things that we get into specifically, though, on this episode are how growing up in a broken home shaped who he is today and the entire brand that he's built with Uphill Battle, the value in having difficult conversations, the importance of perspective on everything, the day he was literally unable to walk and he used to be an athlete, what he learned from growing up in El Paso in general, the best way to build a brand, and he knows a lot about brand building, dealing with overwhelm, and the advice he would give to his younger self if he was to start over from ground zero, and so much more. One last thing, if you're a health or fitness professional and you're having difficulties getting leads, one of the most common reasons that I see this is not having a well-defined niche. If you go to the link in the description, I have a free 3-step process that walks you through exactly how to get clarity on which niche is best suited for you and your business. Without further ado, let's go. Red light's on. We're actually recording this time. Jason Richard Lucero, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. What about you?
Good. Now that I know for a God-given fact that I've hit record on all 3 of my devices this time, because for anybody,
update everyone, see what happened last time.
So last time we did this was it must have been closer to December.
It had to be like November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last year basically we had a great conversation, probably life-changing, and then I got to the end of it and I was like, bro, I forgot to hit record.
On top of that, it was probably close to 2 hours.
Oh, I felt so bad. I've told so many people about that story now. I can't, like, literally probably for the last year now, every single time I sit down with somebody, I was like, by the way, I'm not going to fuck this up because I made the mistake one time and I felt so bad about it. And so here's the good news though. Here's the good news is that second conversations are always better than the first conversation.
Right.
So we get a second run at this and it'll be even better than the last time.
Okay. Let's do it. I hope so. I hope you have numbers on that.
I don't, but so where I want to start is I literally want to jump right into it. But before I do, actually, though, just to give people context as to who you are and what you're doing a lot of things now. I'm super excited about what's all happening in your life, from training to your clothing line of Uphill Battle. You're getting into golfing for some crazy odd reason.
I'm not good, but
I've seen you have like multiple social media accounts now, from your personal one to your coaching one to the clothing brand line. Mm-hmm. So you're doing a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's fun.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Keeps me going.
I say the same thing, is like I feel like I'm juggling 3 things, but I love all 3 of them, so it's hard to put one down.
That's perfect. That's the perfect way to put it.
That's exactly how
I never thought about it that way, but that's perfect.
But so let's jump right into it. I want to start with, I know you have a bit of a soft spot for kids growing up in broken homes and some of the challenges of that. And so I just want to kind of start there with your journey and your experience with something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we could kind of preface this with like the brand, right, Uphill, and the meaning behind it, which is kind of just trying to continue to go through anything you're going through, trying to keep a positive perspective on things and just like ride with the waves, dude. Like shit's always going to be bad. You know, someone next to you might be going through something. You might be going through something. One's not greater than the other. And I think I learned that perspective, like growing up early, coming back to like the broken home thing. And I don't want to make it also not seem like my family was worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love my mom. I love my dad. They were a great influence on me. But man, like, we went through some fucked up shit. So, and I'm very aware of, I think just situations in general. So I'm very aware of how like one wrong decision coming up in a difficult situation could have just led me down the wrong path. And that's made me be like really grateful for that situation because in my neighborhood where I grew up, it wasn't the best.
This was in El Paso, right?
Yeah, in El Paso.
Yeah.
I just noticed a lot of the kids growing up with me specifically, like that I went to elementary school with, like, dude, like a lot of them are in prison. Like a lot of them are like working like bad jobs. They've gotten in trouble. They got arrested. You know what I mean? And even though my family wasn't the best, they guided me in the right direction, and they gave me enough examples of how to get through that, even though you're surrounded by it. So that's why, even though, you know, like my situation might not have been the best, like I give my parents so much credit because I could be one decision away from being in prison, from never getting out of being back home, from, you know, not being as ambitious as I feel today, because like I see it and it kind of freaks me out. And I know they did a good job because my sister's doing great and I'm doing great. Like, you know, they allowed both of us to have a chance of coming out of a not so great situation when I firsthand witnessed a lot of people just take the wrong path. So that's why like it's such a like soft topic for me, is because I'm like so grateful. And that came over time. I think perspective came over time, because at the time, you know, like things seemed miserable. Like, dude, this fucking sucks. Like, I was a high schooler going through a lot of things that like I think a kid should never go through. And then now I'm like, I remember being in college having like mental breakdowns because I realized something I didn't realize when I was a kid. Like, I don't know if it's like, you know, you just don't know what it is at the time. And I specifically remember one time in college laying in bed, about to go to bed, and I was like, holy shit, my mom was in the mental hospital. I never realized that. Bam, slap in the face. Had to call my sister, was like, dude, we went and visited mom one time at a mental hospital, and I didn't know she was there because I just thought we were going to visit mom, right? So perspective changes as you get older. You go through things and you're able to like, you know, that's why I still give them props, dude. My mom was like struggling and she still got me through this. My mom is the sweetest, most loving person I know. And my dad is the hardest working person I know and the most disciplined. So even though they had their faults, I feel like I got the best of both of them.
Damn.
And I feel like my sister did too. So like, even though they had their faults, somehow we were able to get their best traits, and they were able to transfer those traits to us, given our situation. So that's kind of why I have such a like soft spot for like kids that are in that situation. And that's why my brand, or that's why I really wanted my brand to have such a like positive message, because if you keep pushing and you have the right perspective on things, like there's no ceiling to like what you could do. And I truly believe that, just because it's so first person for me. So
Dude, I appreciate you sharing that, man. I think a lot of people can really resonate with just, the challenges of a difficult upbringing, man. Is like, I actually recently had a couple episodes. Joe Fair was on the show, and he was telling a lot of stories about similar situations where, like, one in specific was he was talking about he came home to find his mom would like overdosed on drugs, like on the couch, like at home. And as a kid, having to see something like that, and how at the time you don't even know
what's going on.
Yeah.
You have no clue.
Yeah. You just almost to the point where it's like, oh, is this normal? Does everybody deal with this? And not really realizing until you get out of it or come to somewhere like Austin.
And that's a crazy thing, right? Like, for me, that life was normal.
Right.
Like, that was normal.
Right.
And then you start growing up and you go through other things, like, oh, that wasn't so normal. Like, okay. But, I mean, I agree with you 100%.
Do you still, how's your relationship with your parents now?
It's good. You know, they struggle with, like, their own demons, as we all do, daily and stuff. But I also think they learn from that situation, too, because I think they learn from their faults. And I've had difficult conversations with them. because part of, I think, my trauma was also addressing it with them.
Totally.
Like, hey, like I love you, but you did this when we were young, and I want to talk about that. And that doesn't mean I'm never, like, I'm not taking anything away from you. I don't love you less for it, but this is how it made me feel. Because I used to have crippling anxiety from that. Like I told you, I was laying in bed, and I realized that I was in that situation, and I just was like, holy shit. And then it would bother me, and I was like, dude, I have to talk about this. I have to talk about this. And luckily, I have my sister, because I was able to call her and stuff.
Have you ever gone through therapy or anything?
I haven't. Well, actually, I think I've been to like one session with my mom. But outside of that, no.
Okay.
I think I'm just really, I try to be as like upfront, because I don't like things bothering me. I'm very like upfront. I'm okay with having like awkward conversations, hard conversations.
Same.
And so if something's boiling over, I know how it affects me. So I'd rather just talk to it directly.
Yeah, I can relate with that a lot, man. I think over the years, as if I'm like some wise sage or some shit, but like I've begun to realize that I just value my mental peace so much. Like probably more than most anything at the end of the day. To the point where I'm 100% willing to have the difficult conversations or to put myself in awkward circumstances just to have the mental peace to knowing that I've dealt with something, as opposed to letting it ruminate and take up space in my mind. Like that's taken me a long time to learn that.
100%. And I think that just comes with maybe maturing too, because like you said, if something's on your mind, you don't talk about it. Even if I have to apologize to someone, I'm going to apologize. Like, I'm not this person that's like, I was right. Okay, I was wrong, and I'm just going to sit on it. Like, no, I was wrong, and I want to let you know that, because I don't want that sitting on my, like, mind forever. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, how that just happens.
Yeah, I think.
And I don't think it just happens, but I think maybe you go through certain things, or you just realize it, or you value your mental peace so much.
Yeah. I remember learning that, I might butcher how they said it, but something along the lines of the most important thing in the world is what you think about yourself when you're by yourself. And the easiest way to get comfortable with sitting with the thoughts in your head is just always be honest and have good integrity. But it's also to have the difficult conversations and to make the choices and to make the decisions and to deal with the relationships that you don't want to deal with. Because then when you can lay your head down at night and go to sleep and go like, yep, I dealt with those things. Like that to me is probably the most important thing, honestly, is to be able to lay down in bed and be like, all right, I did what I needed to do today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's with a lot of things too. Like if it's just sitting on your conscience or like you're constantly thinking about that, like I hated living in that state of mind. Like I'm like you, I like to like lay down and know like I did the difficult things today. I had conversations, but like they had to be done and I'm not worried about them anymore.
Totally.
You know, and I think the point you just nailed of being able to sit alone by yourself and like feel okay about yourself is very, very important, because at one point, dude, I was like so anxious. My mental health was not good. I did not like being alone for that situation. And it wasn't because like I felt guilty about things. It's just like I hadn't talked about all these things that had happened. And now like I value my alone time so much because like and it's cool to see. Like I think I've just had two perspectives of life. It's almost like I lived two different lives, because I was so mentally unhealthy on one side and had been through so much, and now I'm on the opposite side of that, but I'm on this side because of this side.
Totally. If you were talking to maybe your younger self or somebody else going through that situation of difficult upbringing or difficult surroundings or environments, like what would you tell them, or what would you tell your younger self?
I think just keep doing what you're doing because it worked. I say this now because I'm in this situation.
Totally.
And at that time, I probably would have been like, that sounds so fucking stupid, dude. Like, tell me something better. But I think everything played out the way it was supposed to be. Like I said, I think I learned this perspective because of that.
Yeah.
So I really think I'm the person I am today because of the things I went through before.
Yeah.
And I like 1000% believe that. And that, like anyone I have conversations with, they know that. Because I'm an open book, dude. Like, I could talk. I don't mind sharing anything with anyone, too, because I think everyone has traumas, and some people just need to talk. And if you could relate to them in some way, like, that might open them up to you a little bit more. And you might be helping. I don't know.
It's one of the things I love about doing the show, man, is I can't tell you the number of people that have reached out to me and just thankful for some of the conversations I've had or some of the like open stories that people have shared and how it's related to them and really helped them work through things. Like it's by far like way beyond any sort of monetary reward. Like getting messages like that is like the most rewarding thing by far.
Dude, and I mean, like, it's amazing that you have that platform. Like, I've never told anyone publicly that my mom was in that situation, you know? So, like, that shows me I'm more comfortable talking about it now, which is really cool. Because before I was, like, not embarrassed, but that's, like, a soft spot for me.
Totally.
But then I noticed, dude, when you, like I just said, when you share soft spots with people, like, they will appreciate that more than anything.
I think the expression I once heard was that we connect to each other's rough edges.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
That's fucking great.
It's like if you're just walking around all silky smooth, is like everything's awesome, amazing, as people just slide off that. But if you're honest and you're vulnerable and you show the challenges and the struggles and the pains, that's what people latch onto at the end of the day. Because it's real. It's real.
100%, bro.
Like, we're not perfect. So I know you grew up in El Paso. You played basketball. You dealt with a pretty heavy injury, which is kind of what got you into the fitness space in the first place, right? That was something I wanted to briefly tap on with you, is that I know you had some pretty heavy challenges with like that injury, and it's kind of like what led you to a lot of what you're doing now today. What's like maybe you feel like the lesson that you learned going through those struggles of like not even really being able to walk again and having to have a surgery at such a young age and like having to figure out how to move my body again? Like what are some of the takeaways you got from something like that?
The biggest takeaway for me is I think it showed me that number one, like not to be scared if one thing is taken away, even though it seems very like this is everything. My eggs are all in one basket. I'm not going to be okay if it's gone, because that happened to me and it was gone. And I was in a space where it was taken away and I was lost for a while, right? Like I didn't know what to do because I had one goal and I wanted to. I'm like so headstrong. I had one goal in mind and I'm going to get it. And then that got taken away from me and I was like, dude, this is fucking scary. Not only that, but I couldn't walk after I got like surgery. And I was such an athletic person before. And I went from like being able to, I'm 5'9", being able to dunk. I dunked twice in my life. And then barely being able to walk, and then taking months to walk, and then taking like a few years to like get under a barbell. Like that was the scariest thing in my life. So I think it showed me like everything's gonna be okay. And then it showed me that like, dude, I could put in work and know something's going to pay off for a long time. Like I feel like so many people are so caught up in instant gratification. Like I'm the opposite, dude. Like I know this work is gonna be worth it.
I think that's what's cool about what you're doing with Uphill, because it's been, what, 4 years?
Yeah, coming up on 4.
4 years. Are you throwing a party, side note, for the 4th
No, but
year?
I should.
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. What month is the 4th year?
I believe it might have just passed. I think it was August.
Oh, man.
If we're going straight off the books, it's August.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great, man. I think those are really valuable lessons. Actually, side note, I didn't realize you could dunk. Have you dunked since then?
No.
Okay.
No, dude. It's like that's not happening again.
5'9" and you dunked?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Only 2 times though. And it was off like a bounce, so I couldn't run up and jump, but I had the bunnies and I have witnesses. So that's all that matters. That's all I need to say. Like I could dunk, but it was only twice.
Was this the
in my
one-hand
life.
small ball? Or was this
No, it was a normal ball,
All
but
right.
someone would toss it up and I would come and, you know. But it only happened twice. So, but that's what I like work up to.
That's actually epic.
Yeah, my friends make so much fun of me because I say I dunk. They're like, dude, you dunked twice. You dunked twice. I was like, they still did it.
That's more than most people.
Exactly, right?
I bet you there's maybe, what, 1% of the population that could probably dunk, if I had to guess?
Dude, that's probably like less. Like under,
half?
that has to be under
Half?
1%, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
A fraction of a
okay, you just
percentage.
made me feel way better about myself.
For real though.
Yeah,
I'm just
seriously.
thinking about it as like there's maybe like I even think about it from the standpoint of like as two guys who are super into fitness and super into health, and like all of our community here in Austin is like even the aspect of people who will go out of their way to weight train, push their body, do challenging things. Even that is like 5% of the population.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's nuts. I can't remember the exact stat, but it was like if you go work out like 5 times a week, you're like in the like top percentile in the world. Like that's nuts, dude.
That is so
That's
wild.
insane.
I know. I love pulling stuff like that because I think we're always just seeing the tip of the iceberg, right? And I think this is true for even financial endeavors. Is like I'm trying to remember the exact number. It's something along the lines of like, if you make more, if you literally make 6 figures a year, or maybe it was like $120,000 a year, you're literally in the top 1%.
Yeah.
Like in the world,
Mm-hmm.
which
Oh, we're so spoiled, dude. Like
Isn't that-
we really are. We forget it.
isn't that crazy?
It's nuts.
Everyone's like, how can I make $1 million this year? How can I have $1 million brand? Which is cool. I think
Yeah.
everyone should have like super high ambitions and goals in life.
100%.
But I think it's also important to take the perspective of like, if you're even like making $80,000 a year, you're in like the top 5% of the world. Like
Yeah.
you're doing great.
Right, perspective.
Yes.
Perspective and like being grateful.
100%.
Dude, and then on top of the fitness thing, like we're in Austin, so like everyone is fit here. Like there's so
Everyone.
many fit here. I went home to El Paso and I was visiting my family, and I was like, oh, I want to do a cold plunge. And I looked up cold plunges. There was not one.
Yeah, I guarantee
Not
it.
one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Business idea. Bam.
If there's a market for it though, because like
Yeah.
I bet you in El Paso nobody is looking for a cold plunge.
That's
otherwise-
true. I think it'd have to be in the right
Yeah.
spot, but random.
Because El Paso's what, like 500,000 people or something like that?
I think it's above that, bro.
Is it?
I think it's pushing closer to 1 million now.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty freaking big. People don't realize how big it is.
We don't have to go too deep into this really
Mhm.
quick, but I am actually curious because so anybody listening, I didn't actually know this until I looked it up after I talked to you.
Mhm.
El Paso's like the corner of, what would that be, West Texas,
Mhm.
right next to New
Southwest, yeah.
Mexico.
Literally,
like the very, very tip.
Yeah,
on
New
the
Mexico. You get New Mexico, Mexico, and Texas
Right in that corner.
right in that corner.
Okay.
Yeah. People think it's like south for some reason.
I did too, actually,
Yeah.
until I looked it up. So curious,
Mhm.
what's like the short version of like what's it like in El Paso if no one's ever been there?
It's very like I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican. This is a perfect example. First time I came to East Texas, I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of white people here." that kind of sums it up.
Okay.
Like I thought, like white people majority was foreign to me. Like it was wild. And so it's very like its own city. It's
Okay.
very its own city because you also have a military base there, so you just have like so many kinds of people there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Fort Bliss and Biggs. Like I grew up in a military school or went to a school where a bunch of military kids went to, so all my friends were like in the military.
Did you ever go out and visit what's that national park out there? Big
White
Bend?
Sands?
No,
Oh,
Big
no,
Bend.
We went on a field trip. I haven't camped out there though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
Not
beautiful.
worth it. Not worth it.
I want to go camp now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't able to stay out there. We were like 5 years old.
Oh. Well, it's one of those things where it's very inconvenient to get there.
It's in the middle of nowhere, dude.
It's literally in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
No matter even if you fly in, no matter where you fly in from, it's still like what, probably 5-6 hour drive.
Yeah, I think from El Paso it's like 4.
See, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most inconvenient national parks, and it's like, is it worth the 9 hour drive? I don't know.
People that have gone though that I've talked to have said it's beautiful
Hmm.
because
Okay.
there's like a little oasis in the middle of the desert.
I mean, I suppose it's probably the classic. If it's really hard to get there, there's probably not a lot of people there, which kind of makes it a little bit more cool.
Very true. Very true.
Unlike where I just was in Italy, where everyone was there. It was
Oh, I bet.
dude, Rome was nuts.
It's probably beautiful though.
It's cool. It's amazing, like architecture and like history and all the things you expect. And I love Stoicism. I don't know how familiar you are with Stoicism, but like I love all the like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and old philosophy.
Yeah.
But in terms of the amount of people there, I would not live there.
Way too many people.
Dude, it's literally 3 million people
Oh, I did not know that.
in one city, and then on top of that, they get about on average 500,000 people of tourism regularly throughout the course of the year.
I did not know that, dude.
So
Holy shit.
yeah, tourism and it's bananas. So that's becomes overwhelming for sure, especially as a fellow introvert.
Yeah.
But so I want to jump into where did Uphill start? So was this when you were working at the Marriott, or like?
Yeah, it was actually.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy. Well, that's where the idea spurred. For people that don't know, I've always been into like shoes and fashion and clothing and stuff like that. I remember specifically, I worked loss prevention at the JW Marriott, which is like security, fancy code for security. And I'm sitting with my good friend in the office, and I'm like, I'm such a positive, like, let's go do this person.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, let me look at these like pieces of paper. I had like sketches drawn out of logos. It's like, do you always want to work security? Like I'm trying to convince him like to do bigger things. And I laughed so hard because it worked. He's like, dude, you're right. And he like walked out of the office and was like, he was sold on it, which was really funny. But It's while I worked at the JW. It was just one of those things where I love fashion, and I was already graduated from college, and it was like, dude, if you want to try something, do it now, because I'm such a, like, if I don't try it, I'm going to regret it, and I don't want to regret it. So I had no idea what I was doing, but that's how it started. And I didn't even know, like, the name at the time. I didn't even know the exact logo, but I knew what I wanted to do. And then first step was, I think I've told you specifically this story before, is like the first thing we ever did is I took, like, I think it was 300 or 600 bucks out of, like, my savings, and I took it to some old lady who did embroidery, and I bought like 15 hats, and she embroidered them for me, and that was my first, like, drop. But, like, I love that now. Like, I love that, dude. The lady was, like, somewhere by UT. She was working out of her house. And it was to the point where I didn't even have a file yet. So I brought her a piece of paper with a logo drawn on it. It was like, can you do this? She was like, you don't have a file? I was like, I don't. And luckily she made it for me.
That's an amazing origin story, bro.
It's pretty cool. And like, dude, I love my friends and the people that support me, because guess what? I sold every one of those hats.
Hell yeah.
Like, immediately, which is really cool. And then I just kept flipping after that. And then it's just grown into this pretty cool thing now. Like, the transformation from how we started to, like, where we are now is, like, insane, because it's not completely different, but it's, like, morphed so much that, like, I'd look at it from the outside now and be like, that's, like, a pretty cool fucking brand. You know, when, like, I'd literally drawed up some freaking designs on a piece of paper, and I have the original one, which is really cool. And that's like what it stemmed from.
Dude, if anyone's watching, not just listening, like, your swag is ridiculous.
Thank you, bro.
But I think that's important to remember for anybody who's interested in, even if they want to do something similar, is like, it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, yeah. That's the other thing is, at the same time, like, it was 4 years ago, and I didn't know anything about it. And then to the other side is, like, I'm still learning, and it's taken 4 years. And I feel like we're just getting the ball rolling. Like, we're just catching momentum.
Dude, I think a lot about just the aspect of, like, 10 years. Mm-hmm. I'm always trying to remind myself of, like, it's like anything in life, man, is like when you see people who are really good at their sport or a musical instrument or, again, business or a clothing line or apparel, is like, you got to play the long game.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking years, if not decades, before you can actually expect to get good at something, because, like, you're competing with other people that have probably been doing it for a really, really long time.
Dude, and you have no idea how many times I would hear, like, I'm a big dreamer, and I've always been that way, and I love it. But when I told people, like, I wanted to start a clothing brand, I was like, do you know how saturated that market is?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to do that? And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make this happen.
Yes.
And I tell people, like, the only difference between you and me is, like, I don't quit. Like, I keep going. Like, I'm going to figure this out. So that's kind of, like, how I worked my way in, is like, dude, I didn't know anything about anything. I took a piece of paper to some lady in a sweatshop out of her house, like, and we figured it out since. So, but that's, like, the beauty behind it is, I'm always pushing back and forth. Like, we've come so far, but, like, or it's like we're not doing enough. And, like, it's walking that line and trying to just keep that pace, because, like, you have to remind yourself, like, how far you've come, but, like, I still have these super high expectations.
Totally. I think that's, like, what you see of all the high achievers that I've noticed anyways, is that they've learned how to toggle, like, ridiculously stupid, hard, just work ethic and grit and resilience, but they marry it with an appreciation for how far they've come. Because you can't be all one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need a balance of both. And like I said, I think all the high achievers I see learn how to toggle between those two. Is appreciating how far you've come, but also, like, you're never satisfied. So in those 4 years, what's maybe, like, the big lessons that you've learned that you can maybe share with others?
Most importantly, like, just, which ties into, like, kind of everything I've done, is, like, just keep going. Like, you're going to figure it out. Like, don't let anyone drag you down. The other thing is, we chatted about this a little bit, is, like, I was so scared of being judged for so long, because Uphill was made 4 years ago, but that first year, I don't count it, because I didn't, like, put anything out for a year, because I was so terrified that someone was going to judge it, or someone was going to say it sucked, or just put myself out there as the owner of this brand. you know? And once I got over that fear, like night and day. And it was just like, dude, you're doing this. If you're going to do it, go 100%. And that's translated into everything else I've done. So like, trust yourself. Like, who gives a fuck about what anyone thinks?
How do you get the word out about Uphill now? Or how is the word spreading about the business?
Dude, it's pretty cool. I mean, we're mainly on social media. That's like our main source because marketing is so kind of tough to figure out right now. So social media is our main thing, but it's just kind of cool. I don't want to say it's happened organically, but I've had so many people like, this is really cool for me is when I'm going somewhere and someone's like, dude, where'd you get that hat? Or where'd you get that shirt? And I'm like, this motherfucker must know, like, I have a brand or something.
Are they fucking with me?
Yeah, are they fucking with me? But no, and then like I'll tell, I'm like, oh, I actually like own a clothing company. They're like, really? Can I like tell me your IG? And I'm like, dude, that's so cool. Or I'll have people like, what's insane to me is it's not local anymore. Like we've sent to like 4 or 5 different countries. I have a guy that DM'd me that was like, hey, I'm in France. Can you like ship? And I was like, hey, dude, it's gonna cost a lot of shipping, but we'll make it happen.
Damn.
And then I'll get
cool.
like messages from people. I had a coworker right now that just moved to Chicago, and she messaged me. She's like, dude, I saw someone at the beach with an Uphill hat. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like I love when people I know buy my stuff, but when people you don't know are buying your stuff from somewhere else, like that makes me feel really good. Like that's cool.
Yeah, I remember our last time we recorded when I totally fucked up and I didn't actually get recorded. I remember we went to the gym afterwards and there was some guy at the gym and I don't remember if he recognized you or not, but it was like someone you didn't know. Yeah. And they're like, hey man, like love the brand, love the product or whatever. And it was like, it was cool. Like it was cool to just see that. And I'm sure like you still probably get butterflies from when people are like, yo bro, like love the product, love the brand. Like,
and I love it, dude. Like I'm not one of those persons that like, don't talk to me. Yeah. Like, dude, I want to talk to everyone that reps my brand. Like, thank you. Totally. Like if I see someone that I don't know and they're wearing my stuff, I'm going to go up to you and be like, hey, I'm Jason. Like, thank you for like, I like, that's my stuff. Like, thank you. Like, I appreciate it. And I think people love that, bro. Like,
do you think, like, what do you think it is that's clicking for people that makes them want it? Is it just because they think it's a cool brand? Do you think they resonate with the message? Like, what do you feel like it is that's clicking for people?
I think, well, I know when I started the brand, even when I like decided on the name is what took me the longest. Because for me, I wanted it to be cool, but it had to have meaning. Because I know if you start with a message at the foundation compared to like something that just looks cool, the one with the message is just going to outlast it. And we built this like pretty cool community now because of the message. Like there's an Uphill community of people that just are diehard, and it's so cool. I did not expect that, but it's because we started with the message, because like everyone could resonate to that. Everyone's going through something. It doesn't matter how significant or insignificant it might seem to you, but that's what brings you together. Like we're all going through something, and the fact that our brand pushes like, you're going to be okay, keep going, keep pushing. Like have a good perspective about it, and it's going to pay off later. And I think that's what like really ties people in together, and that's how we've built this community. And now it's my favorite thing out of anything. Like I did not expect to have a community of people that just like are die hard about the message. Like yes, I think we make cool clothing, but the fact that like they know the message is the most important thing to me.
How did you figure that, or maybe you didn't? I'm curious as to how that was kind of birthed, because I know we were briefly talking before we started recording about a recent book you've read, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, which is a lot of what you're talking about, correct? But it seems like you, for whatever reason, maybe instinctively knew that was really what you wanted to do, was push a message, not so much just a because I agree. I think a clothing line is a clothing line. Everyone and their mom has a clothing line at this point. It's really about why, right? What's the purpose behind it? What's the mission? What's the message we're trying to communicate to people that makes it valuable, right? And that's what you're doing. Did you instinctively know that? Like, where does that come from?
Well, I think I think I'm really good at, not just in clothing, at like looking at something and being like, that doesn't work. I can make this better. Because like for clothing, and I think for most things, we're not reinventing the wheel. You're just trying to make it better.
Totally.
And I think that's where people go wrong. Is like 99.9 of the good ideas have already been like made. So how can we make them better? And for me, I just saw so much fast fashion. Like I would see brands that would come in and they'd be gone in like a day. or they'd be gone, or they don't have like loyal followers and things like that. And for me, just because of my background, it was really important to have meaning behind it. Like, I'm a very passionate person about everything I do. Training, my clients, the people I care about, especially my brand. Like, that's my baby. And I'm not afraid to like care about things. And I think for so long, caring about stuff was lame. And I think that's so fucking stupid. Like, how does that even make sense, bro? Like, I care about people, and my people know that. So it had to have a meaning that just had value to it and that people could resonate with.
Have you had any issues with letting go of, like, I don't know, certain tasks, maybe employees, maybe things that aren't aligned? Like,
dude, oh my God, that's the hardest thing. So within the last year in December, I brought on my business partner. Shout out Scott. Scott's great. He's amazing. He's great at what he does. And at the time, I was starting to get overwhelmed because if I don't do it, it's not done right. And that could only get you so far. Because I was starting to get overloaded with my brand, overloaded with my training, overloaded with my clients, and I was just running very thin. And it actually came really full circle because I think it was 3-4 years ago when I first started Uphill. I had met Scott, and I had seen how great he is at what he does. I had seen, like, he's just a workhorse and he cares about it. And he worked for someone else at the time. And I told him, I was like, dude, if I ever have anyone to work with me or like be a business partner, I want it to be you. And at the time, the cards weren't like dealt that way because I had just started. Like, I didn't even have any merch out yet. And then a couple of years ago, or last year, I believe, when he moved back to Texas, he was like, hey, dude, I'm moving back to Texas, and I would love to be a part of like what you're doing if that offer's still on the table. And like the stars just aligned because I was so like run down at the time. I was like, we're doing something right. That's just like the world telling me I'm doing the right thing. And so since me and Scott are now partners, he had to teach me, like, dude, you got to delegate, bro. If you want this to be successful, you have to delegate. Because I was so scared about keeping our message intact.
Totally.
And I don't want it to be diluted that I had to do everything. And he's like, bro, if this guy designs this, it's not going to dilute your message. You know, like, yes. That's okay. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And that's been super hard for me. It's just, I was so used to having control of everything. Totally. And wanting to want it to go the right way because it's my baby. Like, I want it to be great, but like, I wanted control of everything.
Totally.
And I don't want this to be like a local brand. I want it to be huge. And if we want to get to that stage, I'm going to have employees. I'm going to have to trust people, and I'm going to have to mold people. But me and Scott had another conversation that, dude, when we have people that work for us and you're able to help them achieve their goals and help mold them, like, that's going to feel really good. So I can't wait for that moment, to be honest, because that excites me more than like anything else.
Dude, you got me excited.
Yeah, it's cool, dude. Like, I'm so optimistic. So when we have these conversations, like, I'm all positivity.
Yeah.
Probably to like a flaw, honestly. But
I would say that's a very common trend, though, that I've seen with a lot of people that I've talked to is just, control issues. I think exactly of what you're saying is that we hold a standard. We have a certain level of like quality that we want, and we want to guarantee that our customers are as happy as humanly possible. And we're afraid that if we give it to somebody else, that it just won't be good. When in reality, when you empower other people to do what they're also great at, it actually makes the brand better, not worse.
Yep.
Assuming you have the right people around you that actually want what's best for it.
Mm-hmm.
Your job as the owner is just to like push the vision, push the mission, right? And let everybody else do what they're good at around you, essentially.
And if they're bought into like what we're doing, then there's not going to be too many issues, right?
Totally.
As long as we guide them along the right path. And once Scott kind of explained that to me, I was so excited about it. I was like, dude, we could help someone else grow into their own.
Totally.
Like, that's awesome. Like, I think that's really freaking cool. And I think like that's how you build a pretty cool company culture is for me, hands off. I trust you with this. Like, you're going to do it. And if you need help, I'm here. So, I mean, it's scary for me.
It's terrifying.
But that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Because even the fact that having employees, like, I just paid this lady to embroider some hats for $600. Now I have an employee. Like, that's going to be really cool. Yeah.
So that leads us to today.
Mm-hmm.
So you're training You're doing Uphill. Is training something you do out of joy, or is it a funnel of money to help push the brand of Uphill?
So it's a little bit of both. But nowadays I enjoy my training a lot more.
Cool.
Because before I was working for someone else.
Right.
And I was not getting paid well. And I'm such a passionate person. I give everything to my clients.
Totally.
It doesn't matter how much they're paying me. I'm going to give the person in front of me everything I have. So when I was doing the group training and I was doing that full time, it was so hard because it's like putting on a show. You have to have high energy, and I'm doing that 6 to 8 classes a day. Like, that was nuts. And finally, I kind of hit a point where it was like, all right, dude, like, you're wearing yourself thin and you're running out of money. And you have to support yourself before you can support your brand. And that's another thing me and Scott had a conversation about. Me and Scott are so, I don't want to say we're opposites, but I didn't need a yes man as a business partner, because I had a lot of people interested as like, hey, do you like this? And they would always say yes. I don't need that. I need you to give me my honest opinion.
Totally.
Scott has never been scared to give me his honest opinion. And I value that so much.
Totally.
Because he said, hey, bro, like, take some time away from Uphill. Not that I took time away, but like, lean your life first so you could control your life, and then we could worry about Uphill. So I transitioned from group training to independent training, which was probably the scariest thing I ever done in my life outside of like the brand and stuff. And it was just incredible because I like to think I'm good at what I do. And I had some clients come with me and they got me started. And within a month, life had like turned around drastically, where I was making more money. I had more time for my brand. And since then, Uphill has taken like leaps because we've been able to put the time that it deserves. So stepping back, looking at the situation, Scott telling me, dude, like, get your shit together so we could really get this through the door. So like, I can't give him enough credit because he's helped me realize what we have to do. He's not a yes man. Like, that was the most important thing. Like, me and him butt heads sometimes, but it's not arguing butting heads. It's let's figure this problem out. And that has been like the most valuable thing to me.
That is one of the traits that I most often look for just in general in my friends. I'm a very judgmental person, for better or for worse. I would say for worse because sometimes it makes me feel like I'm not super empathetic, but for better, it definitely helps me vet the people that I spend time around. And I would say that exactly what you're talking about is the most common trait that I look for in my friends is honesty. And that sounds so simple, but it's like honesty to the point where I know you have my best interest in mind, and you're not just being honest just to like for the sake of like to smash my feelings or something like that. You actually want what's best for me. I'll never forget, I had a buddy once, I was like showing him my run times and he's like, whoa man, he's like, you're really slow. and it hit me, right? It punched me, and I was like, oh, like really? And then like I sat on him for a little bit and we talked about it, and he like coached me through some of the stuff. And then afterwards I actually made a post about it, and I was like, it's friends that like they tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Like, that's what I value. Like, don't like just like, cool, sometimes it's fun to be hyped up and like you're doing awesome. That's fun as well. But I really value the friends that'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Like, those are the important people in my life.
And there's a way to go about it, right?
Totally.
And I feel the same way as far as like sometimes I might not be as empathetic as I should be. There's times where Scott will like send me an idea and I'm like, no, dude, like, no. And then I think like my communication could have been better, but I'm honest. And I think it goes the same for like vice versa for him. Like, sometimes like I'll say some stuff or I'll send him a design, be like, I think this is really cool. He's like, it doesn't align with what we're doing. And I'm like, oh, I just spent a couple of hours sitting here making this design. Like, no, but that's what I need. Because since we've had this, like, now me and Scott are always going back and forth and we're in constant communication. Like, we have more of a straight line. Like, obviously business life doesn't go in a straight line, but we've gone in the right trajectory now since having each other to bounce things off of.
It hurts when you spend a few hours on something and you're like, nah, man.
I know, right?
That wasn't
but
it.
That's why we're delegating now, because it shouldn't take me 2 hours to make the simple design when someone could do that in like 10 minutes.
Okay, so this leads us to, so what's the future of Uphill Battle? So I know that you got a launch coming up here. You got some new clothing line coming out from some joggers and some, what do you call them, wife pleasers?
Wife pleasers, baby. So it's like a wife beater, but we're going with wife pleasers because,
like
you
that.
know, it just works. But
Politically correct.
exactly, in today's age.
Yeah.
But we worked really heavily Q1 and Q2 to find some manufacturers. We took a huge step in the beginning of the year of stopping. We used to use guys locally to print stuff, buy blanks, print stuff, and then sell them. In my opinion, to take like a big jump as a brand, we had to have everything made from scratch. So we took Q1 and Q2 to really test the manufacturers out, to really test materials, to really test sizing, like everything from top to bottom. So we got that down. We're still actively working on it, but it's awesome to have your own tags on there, to have every material you wanted to use, every design you wanted to use, figuring that out. So we got our manufacturers now. So now it's, okay, let's be consistent with drops. So if we could push something monthly, or we could push something every 2 months, that's our next thing, because we used to take so long to get it done, and we see so much growth within one drop. So we need to be able to strike while the iron's hot and keep going, because that's the only way our brand's going to grow, especially with, like, I don't like to compare myself to other people, but the brands are constantly like putting things out, and we have to put things out. We have to stay relevant because that's part of the game. So being more consistent, bringing out quality stuff is kind of the goal. But October, end of October, beginning of November is going to be really cool because it's the first time we're doing like bottoms. We've done shorts before, but we've improved our shorts like tenfold. Now we have actual joggers and sweats and tees, and like this launch is going to be huge. The SKUs that we had, the amount of SKUs we had was like huge compared to, like, I used to order like 60 things at once. Like 60 total, and think that was a lot. Like we just closed out our biggest invoice to pay for that. I would have never thought we got to that, and that was freaking scary, but it was so exciting.
How many products was it, or how much?
I think the SKUs went over like 1,200 items.
Oh my gosh.
Total, and that's not like different items, but like the total.
Still.
So that was kind of insane to see just on paper, because we're like, okay, we're gonna do these joggers and this color, we're gonna do this tee, we're gonna do this hat, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. My number might not be wrong, but I think that's what it was.
Dude, I'm excited for you, man. That's
That'll be
incredible.
fun.
That's an amazing place to be.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited. It's scary, but it's fun. Yeah.
Ride the wave, baby.
And I'm ready. I'm ready for the ups and downs.
At the end of it, you're gonna learn something.
Absolutely.
Whatever happens.
I love that.
I have a round of rapid fire questions for you. So it's whatever the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Best business advice.
Trust your intuition, for sure. I think I used to get caught up in this person's advice, that person's advice. Statistically, this should work. Statistically, this doesn't work. And I think, I don't know what it is about us humans. I think we have an intuition inside us that is right most of the time. Might not be right all the time. It's right most of the time.
I think it's like a subconscious thing, right? It's like you try to logic your way through things when in reality, like, there's very few things in this world that are logical. I need to get you a sticker, man. I don't know if you know my mantra, less thinking, more doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
I love that. Give me one, please. Slap it on my forehead, dude.
I put
Jesus.
it. I gave them out at my events tonight, and I gave them out 2 events ago or something like that. And I can't tell you the number of people that have like tagged me or messaged me.
Oh, I love that.
Because like they put it on their laptop, and it's like, because there's so many of us that are just chronic overthinkers, man. And it's like.
And life got so much better for me outside of business and inside of business when I started doing that.
Totally.
Which is nuts.
What's your best marketing advice?
Oh, that's a good one. Be genuine to who you are. Absolutely.
What's your favorite part about entrepreneurship?
Knowing that you could do better no matter how good you've done.
Yeah, dude, it never ends.
Yeah, that's hard.
When are you the most productive?
Oh, man. It's either early morning or late at night, even though they're super contrasting.
You're a late at night guy.
I was. Now I got to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. So I could do both, man. It's crazy.
That's impressive.
I'm a very much like spurt of the moment. If an idea comes, I'm running with it.
Huh. Who is your inspiration?
Man, I have to say my siblings, my sister and my dad and my mom. Like, they've been through a lot, man. And they're still working on themselves. So it's just like a constant, even though they might not be doing business or, something, they're working on themselves and they've been able to like push me out. So that's cool. Yeah.
Familia.
Yeah.
Who is your inspiration? Or no, sorry. Tell me one secret or something most people don't know about you.
Oh, dude, that's hard. I feel like I'm such an open book that.
You got any like weird quirks? I remember somebody, who was it? That was Angela Gargano. You know her, right? She told me she sleeps with a nightlight. I thought that was pretty funny.
No shit.
Yeah.
Let me think on that one, bro. I need like a couple seconds. Well, you know that I could dunk a I used to be able to dunk a basketball.
that is a good one that I did not know.
Okay, guilty pleasure song. And I hate this, Taylor Swift, because there's so much Taylor Swift. But Love Story by Taylor Swift is a banger.
Deep in a set of heavy squats. Taylor Swift.
Throw on that Taylor Swift, baby.
What would you change about yourself?
Let's see. And that's a good question because like I used to not like a lot of things. And now I'm like, I've grown into a place where I'm really comfortable with myself. I care about people a lot. And sometimes it burns me on one end. So I don't think that's a bad thing and I don't think I would change it. But that's something I'm aware of now.
That's good, man. I like that a lot. What's your favorite app or resource you're using right now?
Dude, this is such a bro answer, but Avatar Nutrition.
Why is that a bro answer? That's great. That tracks your macros, right?
Mm-hmm. Have you ever used it?
No, I use Chrono.
Try Avatar.
Really?
I met the guy. His name's, I believe, Mark Springer.
He was on the show.
I'm correct. Really?
Yeah.
And his app is incredible.
Is it that good?
User-friendly interface, especially for people who are learning to do things, something new. I dealt with like bad habits tracking, and that app is incredible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on. I don't know if you know his story at all, but he started that when he was living out in Florida, and he was literally like living out of a car and had like no money.
I did not know that.
Dude, the story of how he started that app is bananas.
I met him once, but like it was great. He's a good dude.
Yeah. He's here in Austin now. But when were you the happiest?
I think when I'm head down and working and have something to look forward to, which is always. I love the process. I love the journey, bro. Like, I love the work.
I love that answer so much. I was just talking to my girlfriend about that recently. I was like, I don't think I'll ever, like, retire.
Yeah. Dude, and especially with, like, fitness and business, I feel like you get in these zones and it's almost like a high.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's incredible.
Totally. I think about that all the time, man. It's like I work not out of obligation, but it's like I just enjoy it. It's like I don't even know what else I would do with my time. Mm-hmm. Like I just enjoy it.
There's nothing like being in that zone. Like nothing.
What's your favorite part about Austin? And you can't say the people.
Community. There's so many different communities. Does that count? That's
sure.
true.
No, it's fine.
Fitness community, business communities, cultures. Like there's so many. And I think that's so cool because back home, there's none of that. Here, you could find someone that's doing the same thing and build a really cool community, no matter what it is.
Not even only back home in El Paso, but I just think about the greater of the world. Like even when I was out traveling in Europe or was back home in Minnesota or I spent some time really in a number of places. And every time I leave Austin, I'm reminded of like how lucky we are, I guess, and how blessed we are for like just health conscious and like really wanting to make a difference and have an impact and like very grateful people and like.
You notice like everyone in Austin has like a side hustle and I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest thing ever.
It's because I think they all are just ambitious and they want to do something with their life essentially.
100%.
I have one last question. Before I ask that question though, I want to acknowledge you, man. First and foremost, for returning for a second episode after I royally fucked up the first one.
I know it took a while, so sorry.
No, man. Yeah. You have nothing to apologize about. I should have had this episode out a long time ago. So
it's a good story. It's a good story. Yeah. See how optimistic I am, bro? Like
now that we've finally been able to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I want to acknowledge you for showing up today, for being honest and open and like and showing all the rough edges of your life and like some of the challenges in El Paso, for sticking to building this brand for the last 4 years now, for listening to your intuition and following your passions, and for being a dope dude in Austin. So
thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and thank you for being such a great host.
Last question. It's really, before I ask it, what's your plug? Where can people find you?
So I believe my Instagram is just my first and last name. So it's jason.lucero on like Instagram. And then Uphill is just uphillbattle.co. That's the Instagram and the website. So if you do anything, go follow the brand, because I could care less about my personal stuff. Like, the brand's where it's at.
Love that. So it's really whatever your best piece of advice is. And so if you were to go back to maybe the beginning days of Uphill Battle, or like just starting your entrepreneurship journey, and you were to give advice to your younger self, or really anyone else in that situation of like they're just trying to get their business going, what's maybe the best piece of advice you'd give them?
For me, it's, I think, letting them know that no one is ever going to care as much as you do. And that's okay, because that's been a roadblock for me, for sure. It's like, I expect everyone to care as much as I do.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen.
That's great advice, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Hey friend, thanks for listening to the show. And if you have any feedback for me about the show or any other guests that you'd want to see in the show, definitely shoot me a message. I love engaging with my audience and figuring out how I can provide the best value possible to the people listening to this show. Before you go, I only have one ask of you, and that would be to check out my 3 Tips Tuesday newsletter. It's 3 marketing tips every Tuesday specifically for the health and fitness entrepreneur to help them attract new leads. If you press the link in the description, it'll take you directly to the archive of all my previous newsletters, and you can decide for yourself if it's something for you. If you end up finding it helpful, you can just sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it in your inbox every Tuesday. Thanks again, and keep hustling, my friends.